Duncan says, I can frame your views as violence. If you criticize my point, you only have to prove my point. I am now unsafe. So, okay, yeah, this was the other thing. There were a lot of things I wanted to say today, and of course I didn't take notes. But James Lindsay has helped me understand a lot of the strategy that left-leaning persons use. And what is important to understand is just like the right doesn't have like central leaders that we all take marching orders from, the left is just a series of presuppositions that are associated with political and theological convictions. And anyway, there are different strategies used. James Lindsay marched through this essay written by, I can't remember his name. He was one of the leaders of the Weather Underground. But he talked through strategy of moving the needle further left in any given scenario. And one of the big tactics used is what he called mid-level violence, but I would call it low-level violence. Like, violence is an overstatement of what it is. What it essentially is, if you use a metaphor, if you've ever had a sibling, it's like putting your finger right in their face and saying, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Where if you react to that with violence, if you punch them in the nose, that is an overreaction and you're the bad guy. However, if you don't react, then you not only appear weak, but you are demoralized and feel weak. And so that's what the left has largely done politically, but also within the church, is this long-term provocation that then whenever we react, they portray it as an overreaction, overly hostile, overly violent, and then they feel at risk, because we are these frothing at the mouth fundamentalist conservatives, which is not the case. But then it makes us defensive. Well, I can't do anything that could be seen as offensive, or I must seem gentle in all my ways, which is an undue burden on people that need to speak the truth with love. We are not responsible for how crazy people behave in response to the truth. We're not responsible for how emotionally fragile people respond to the truth. If you watch Jesus or Paul and how that they behaved in ministry, they spoke the truth clearly in love, so that anyone who's predisposed to take offense could, and obviously did. I mean, why do you think they killed Jesus? But even so, the burden on us is not, I can't offend anybody or everybody has to feel safe in my presence. The burden is, am I speaking the truth in love? And then if it's not received well, it's not because we did it wrong. It's because, there are different reasons. One can be Satan is taking away their, when Jesus talks about the sower sowing seed, remember the birds come and take the seed off the path. And he says that's Satan taking the word from taking root in people's lives. But it's also the case that some people are just too fragile and they're going to take offense at everything. And the more you kowtow to them or operate around them like that, the more you enable them, and they will just perpetually be like that. A lot of people need to understand that the world is going to continue functioning even if they take offense. And in fact, we don't have the time or the energy. We're not obligated to care that they have taken offense. That doesn't mean we're entitled to just be nasty. That just means that there are certain norms about where the lines of propriety are that we're going to maintain. And so whenever someone crosses those lines of propriety, as he did, calling his enemies terrorists and equating them with Hamas, even if not explicitly, that was clearly low-level violence. That was clearly, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. And then whenever I reacted, there was a hysterical response, not just by him, but by Cynthia, who, yes, she should have taken the article down. I'm glad she took the article down. But she shouldn't have posted it in the first place, and he shouldn't have written it in the first place. I think that was all the things I meant to say about that. I don't know if there's going to be any more developments there. I don't want to beef with anybody, but I do feel like if you can't call out bad actors, not just the bad actions, but I think there are people who repeatedly say and do things that are caustic, vitriolic, bad for the group dynamic. If you can't name those people, then they are going to continue to interlope and assert themselves in group dynamics and ruin everything. And so I think if any group wants to defend itself and provide for health, you have to call out the bad actors. Problem is, the United Methodist Church is a dysfunctional environment, and the only people who can do that are people outside of the system. So then they say, well, you're not a United Methodist anymore. Why are you commenting on this? Well, because I care about you guys. I want the United Methodist Church to do well, but you're not going to do well if you continue to tolerate voices like that. So I hope Cynthia Astle learned her lesson and doesn't publish any more god-awful garbage like that anymore.